Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Oh, that's so kind of you, mate. Absolutely wonderful. There we are, preening yourself, getting yourself all ready for me, for Valentine's week. Looking good, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's very kind of you. But hang on. I'm gonna hold the phone.
Oh,
Valentine's week. I mean, clearly gets very spoiled. Wow.
All right, I'll rephrase that. The week of Valentine's Day. There we go.
Yes,
there we
indeed.
are. How about that?
Yeah. But yes, no. So as much as I hate to burst your bubble, I am not preening myself on your behalf. No, I was literally just spotting more grey hairs in the beard and thinking, oh, bollocks, I need to sort them out. But anyway, how are you, mate? Good to see you. You all right?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very good because we're on a run up now to next week, half term, when we've got our Jungle Law show at the Watermill venue. So we're busy rehearsing, building sets, and getting that all ready. It's really I'm really enjoying it. It's great fun. Tiny bit stressful, but these things always are. So tiny bit, but no, it's good fun. It's really nice. It's the first one at the venue, our first proper theatre-based show. So we're looking forward to it. How about you? What have you been up to?
Just the usual, mate. Bit of voiceover, bit of editing, bit of preparation, script work, all sorts of different bits and pieces. It's still very much bitty at the moment, building towards bigger things, but they're on their way. So I'm pleased that that is going to happen very soon. Fingers crossed. So
well, we're easing out the beginning of the year, aren't we? But we've had a great time on the old podcast. I mean, last week was fantastic, wasn't it?
Amazing. We brought back lots of previous guests to ask us some questions, and we had so many great responses that we're going to do it again next week, aren't we? We're going
certainly
to
have a few. Now, we don't normally do sort of news and stuff, and there isn't an awful lot of news this week, but just heard today the sad passing of, I think, one of radio's trailblazers, and that's Steve Wright, the BBC and BBC Two Radio 1, and Radio 2 DJ. I mean, I grew up listening to him and his comedy and his great way that I think he and Kenny Everett were trailblazers on the radio. I really do. Their style of presentation changed radio. And I think there was a lot of people, a lot of DJs out there who wouldn't be doing what they're doing now were it not for the likes of Steve Wright. Very clever man.
Yeah, no, sort of almost set a standard, didn't he? And was a pioneer in the area. So yeah, but very sad passing. Condolences to his family, of course, and we shall raise a glass. People that hadn't seen it yet, don't worry, I'm on the beer. Don't you worry.
No, I'm on the coffee, but that's only because I'm trying to stay awake. So,
I'm boring you to tears and to sleep, am I?
Certainly not. No, but to Steve Wright, bless him.
Indeed, Mr. Steve Wright. Now, you said, obviously, a minute ago, we had a brief discussion. Obviously, last week, not all our previous guests, but lots of our previous guests popped back on through the medium of video or audio to ask us some questions, to put us in the spotlight or in the chair, so to speak. Now, it's always great when we have guests come back and do something like that, but what's possibly even better is when guests first make an appearance on the show, and you know where I'm going.
I know where you're going, Sam.
We've got a guest today, haven't we?
We certainly do. Yeah. Are we ready yet? Are we going to unleash our new guest, or are we just going to sit here chatting and admiring each other, or should we unleash this wonderful man on our
I'm not
podcast?
sure I'd done any admiring of you.
I just take it as read, mate. I just take it as read.
But no, enough messing around. Let's unleash him, as you said. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the wonderful Mr. Matt Traylor. And yes, indeed, it's been too many years since I last saw him, but he's here, and I couldn't be happier. Mr. Matt Traylor, hello, brother. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Matt meet Drew, Drew meet Matt.
Hello, Matt. Nice to meet you.
From my podcasting partner in crime to literally my brother from another mother. We going back, it's got to be 5-6 years now, maybe. We shared the stage as brothers in possibly one of the weirdest but best shows I personally have ever been involved in. But we won't talk about that yet. We'll come to that later because that's a good one to say. But I think how I've described it, you'd probably agree it's about accurate.
Yeah, it's when I look back at my series of credits, it's the one that always gets asked about and always gets picked up. They go, "What's that about?" And we're like, "It's a long story."
It really, really is. How long have you got is probably the only response. But now we're obviously talking cryptically. Drew knows what we're talking about. And actually, a lot of the people listening and watching this podcast will know what we're talking about, but perhaps don't realise they know what we're talking about. But again, we're going to leave it and come back to it later on because you are here. As I said, it's been millions of years since we last spoke. It's brilliant to see you. Really looking forward to catching up. But for Drew's benefit, for the stuff that I haven't sort of explained to him, and for all our lovely listeners and watchers, Matt, give us a quick introduction to yourself. Who is Matt Traylor?
So, hello everyone. I'm Matt Traylor. I am an actor and an acting coach. I graduated from East 15 back in 2015. And I've been in and out, popping here and around the industry ever since, really.
Perfect. I mean, we have some great guests on, and they're always good at introducing themselves, much better than we'd ever be able to, Drew, I think.
That was absolutely perfect. You say you've been popping in and out of the business. I mean, when you left East 15, let's go to trail back a few years. What sort of stuff were you doing when you left? What those credits you mentioned, those listed credits, where did that take you? So great.
So when I first started, I did like most people leaving the industry and doing the industry kind of shows and showcases, leaving without an agent. And I think for the majority of the first couple of years, I went self-represented because I felt the work I was getting, I could get myself without having an agent take the cut off. So I started off like most people doing children's theatre and doing TIE because that was the easy, not I'd say the easy way to get in, but it kind of feels like everyone's bread and butter nowadays. Like the repertory theatre back in the days kind of gone out of style now, and it's most actors kind of learn their craft doing the touring schools or the touring shows and picking up your crafts there. So I did about a couple of bits and pieces doing some TIE work, and then it kind of blasted me off going around the world for just over a year, which was kind of my second credit out of drama school. Which was kind of mental.
Well, and that's one of the big reasons that, not obviously the only, but one of the main reasons we wanted to be able to get you on to talk to you is because you were catapulted into doing something that is enormously important and so incredibly rewarding, but perhaps gets very, very little publicity within the industry. It's something that actually quite a lot of people go into, or I say a lot, a select amount of people go into, but once they kind of do it, it's this enormously rewarding experience, and that is taking theatre abroad, and in particular, in your case, quite far abroad. So tell us a bit more about that.
So yeah, I recall it was about 2016, and it was kind of like March time, and I just finished, I think it was like my second touring show, and I was on the casting websites and things like Mandy and Spotify, just applying for everything under the sun, hoping something was going to stick. And I remember a job coming up saying about looking to, has anyone had any experience teaching musical theatre? And I've had a bit of experience like teaching and working with kids in like theatre schools and stuff like that. So I was like, well, you know, this is something that's kind of very okay for me, and it's a paid job, so let's apply for it. Didn't think much of it. A couple of days later, I remember, I think it was like a red letter day or something for like my birthday. And I remember getting a missed call from someone and going, and I usually never pick up my missed calls, and thinking, this is an old number, let's just see what it is. Pick it up, and this bloke on the other end, who's this casting director, going, yes, lovely, we've got this opportunity you applied for to teach and put on a show over in China. And are you still interested in the role? And I was like, oh, yeah, yes, of course, yeah. Actor was, yes, of course, very interested. And they went, great. Can you get down to the Chinese embassy tomorrow? Because we need you to go this week. So I literally put the phone down, kind of accepted it, going, yeah, why the hell not? And I remember my parents kind of going, oh, because I was with my parents at the time. They were like, oh, who's that? Oh, it's just some bloke who wants me to go to China. And they didn't believe me for about 3 days until I actually confirmed them with my plane ticket and my visa, all confirmed that I was going over to China.
That's extraordinary. I mean, you do get offered those jobs. You go, oh, can I do it? Can I make it work? You know, and it's like a tour or a job in Aberdeen. But to actually go, you're going to China, mate. I mean, that's that's it. That's a big ask, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where, I mean, at that time, I was still scared of flying. And I was like, how am I going to do this? It's an acting job, and it's asking you to go and live on the other side of the world. Go for it. So I kind of did it scared. More in my case, I did it terrified. Wow. So I remember, jumping to the Chinese embassy, getting my visa sorted out, and then literally a week later, there was me and I think 6 other people all boarding a flight over to Shanghai.
Wow. And did you sort of have an opportunity to either meet these people or speak to these others beforehand, or was it literally almost on the day?
Well, so we all got to know each other on the plane, because we all kind of turned up it was like a nighttime flight. And I remember it was a direct flight from Heathrow over to Shanghai. And you could see that there was all like each individual 21-something-year-olds all kind of like looking around a bit confused. I was like, they look confused as much as I am. Okay, these are my people. And I was like, are you going to try for this job? And they're like, yeah, we are. Gone for that. And then we just kind of all became very close friends and all bonded really quickly going over there. And that was our little kind of creative team that we worked with each other over there.
I mean, there you are. So you're dropped in Shanghai, knowing about half a dozen people. So what? I mean, I'm fascinated. I mean, I love stories like this, and you're suddenly there in the middle of China, going, okay, we're going to put on a show. So what actually happened? What were you doing?
So that's a very good question, because we didn't really know when we were going out there. We had been briefed about it, and they said, well, just to let you know, how things work in China is very different from the industry over in the UK. Things get changed very last minute. They get approved very last minute, and everything they need results straight away. So we need to get to Shanghai. We'll brief you when you get there. And most of us at that point think we were all going to get kidnapped. So we were like, surely this is not right. Anyway, so we land over in Shanghai, and there was someone, with the name tag, and escorting us to our van, which were like, this even seems more dodgy. Anyway, they take us to this hotel, which is about 2 hours outside of Shanghai, to a place called Jiaxing. And we meet up with the guy who we were on the phone with, and he's like, right, lovely. So they briefed us of like what we were going to do. So the company was working with a load of schools and a university over in China, and they realized that they wanted to develop new and interesting ways to help teach English. So they thought, why not try theatre and drama? So the idea was they wanted us to produce a show which was in English and Mandarin, and basically train up these kids to be able to perform in English and Mandarin. The only problem is that they had never sung, acted, or danced before in their life. They had very basic English lessons. So it was very much, right, off you go, good luck. And so we were given about 8 months to put on this show and to work out the storyline and bring in songs from like standard musical theatre repertoires and trying to get all of this working. But we kind of arrived a few days before we were going to be sent to our little groups. So they thought, well, they're coming over a bit early. Why don't we just send them to a teaching conference and get them to run a seminar there?
What?
And so that's what we did. We literally arrived. They took us. This is why we went over to this place in Jiaqing, and it was a teacher conference where they went, guys, does anyone know how to run drama games? And I was like, well, yeah, sure, I've done drama games before. And they went, right. Okay, so we've got 200, 300 teachers who are all like English teachers, maths teachers, science teachers, who all have a good level of English. We want you guys to run these workshops so that they can understand what a drama game is and how to teach in English and stuff. So it was us as like the guinea pigs, like helping them run the session, and we also had I think it was a few like professional directors as well who were helping us run it as well. And it was just like 3 days of these Chinese teachers all playing children's drama games, and it was kind of surreal of them actually being kids, because they didn't really do that much. Because I don't know, what we found over there was the style of academic learning over in China is completely different to here in the UK. So the sense of play and the sense of imagination is kind of not really discussed, not really used as much. Whereas in China, it's very much academic results. They know exactly what to do, ticking all the boxes, very, very, very studious, very hard working. Yet their source of imagination and original thoughts is just completely alien to them. So to get them to think of an animal or think of a location, they would go, well, what's the right answer? You're like, there is no right answer. You just think of an animal. They're like, yeah, but what's the right animal? What's the best animal to think of? You're like, we don't know. Just think of for yourself, please.
Wow. I got to ask. I mean, you say that, you know, the teachers at this conference and I were very well versed in English. What was your Mandarin like when you arrived?
Ni hao was so not very much. Whilst I was over there, I had a kind of a very basic version of like a translator, like Google Translate, because of course we were over in China, so most of the apps and the websites didn't work over there.
Yeah.
So this was kind of around VPNs were still in its infancy a little bit, so most of them weren't really working 100%. So we found words and phrases and practiced those, because of course English is a very not very common language that's spoken over in China. So you kind of just have to do it and hope for the best. And which always made it very interesting for people when you were walking down the street and you go, oh hello, can I have some bread please? And they go, oh my god, they're speaking English, this is insane.
Wow, what and to be catapulted into that, not long out of drama school and very sort of little prep time almost. But I'm guessing it kind of was, I mean, baptism of fire is not necessarily the phrase I'm looking for, but you were kind of, because you were thrown into it, you had no choice but to deal with it. And I imagine the longer you were out there, the more that helped, that kind of initial sort of, whoa, 100% away you go, just go for it. At that point, you kind of started to gain more and more control and more of your bearings, I suppose. How long were you actually out there in the end?
Yeah, I think you got it on that nail on the head there, because I was out there for 9 months. So I was there from about April till about November time was like my first stint over there, and then I went back for a few little bits and pieces in the next year. But it was, I think, my training at drama school was very much they kind of put it in our heads that you're not the special snowflake, you are got to get on with this, and you got to believe you can do it, because otherwise there's going to be 10 other people who are just as talented, if not better than you, that will do it. So go in full heartedness and just say, yes, you can. And that's kind of what we did. We were all kind of, us as our little group of 6 that went out there, we all kind of got split up and got sent to different places. So after this conference, we all kind of thought we were working together. But no, we got all sent to four corners of China, and we didn't see each other for a couple of months. So we were like, okay, bye, see you later. So I went off to Beijing with another girl with me. There was two others who went over to Shijiazhuang, which was a little city outside of China, which was basically built so that they could keep the factories running for the Olympic Games, so they could have clean air in Beijing. Insane. You had another group that went to a place called Changping, which was in like very north Beijing, and then you had another two group that went down to a place called Xiamen, which is just off the coast of Hong Kong. And so we all were sent off to different places, and luckily the three groups of us who were kind of near around Beijing, we kind of could all see each other on weekends and stuff like that. So we still had that little community. But us who were in Beijing, we were in a place called Olympic Huayuan, which was it was like kind of just off of the Olympic Village, and we were placed kind of by this school, and we had we started off, I think it was about 100 kids, and some had great English, some didn't have much English at all, and it was like they'd never had a drama lesson, so it was like, right, let's just get on with this, and bringing in some very basic drama games that we would have done in primary school, secondary school, stuff that they would never even have thought of. I remember one of our classes, we just was like, right, okay, so the theme is anything can happen. There's nothing wrong. Anything can happen, and we want you to improvise a scene where anything can happen. And you can see all of them kind of like, just like after school club, they're all kind of looking and kind of thinking, and then they just all went a bit crazy, just started running around and like doing anything that they could think of. The translator, who was kind of helping us, was just kind of a bit shocked to see like the kids gone feral. They've said something in English and they've all gone feral. And we're like, no, this is right. They're playing. They're understanding the idea of improvised play. Like, let them play. And they got it. It took them a while, and after a couple of weeks, they kind of got their heads around it, and slowly we started bringing in some more kind of drama-based kind of exercises and bringing in songs, and like them picking up songs and routines they were incredible at that. It was bringing in the acting side of things, which was something that they had to bring their own thought into. So.
I guess we, as you said, with the singing and dancing elements, there's a framework. There is, in theory, a right or wrong. There is a way to do things that is how it's set out. So that, again, goes back to what you were saying about the sort of academia side, where regimented, this is the answer, there is one way to do it, get it right. Whereas when you're talking about it bringing in emotion and dramatic kind of interpretation, there is no right or wrong. So that's where that extra pressure comes in. But yeah, so what a crazy experience, and to go from that to then come back to the UK, as you said, about sort of 9 months later. Did it change your outlook on how you behaved within the industry, and did it have any specific effect on you and your career in that way?
Well, I think the most profound thing I ever had was I couldn't stand the British Chinese ever again. No, I'm joking aside. It made me really kind of appreciate the kind of opportunities I had and the way I was taught, and how that I was allowed to be able to breathe and get things wrong, because the pressures that these kids were having, because it was I think we were working with a private school, and that these, it was just coming out of the time of the one child policy, so a lot of them, it was, you must be the top of your class, you must do 7 extracurricular activities. The amount of time that we would do stuff, and they would the kids wouldn't be there because they're doing a piano recital, or they're doing guitar lessons, or they're doing so many other extra school activities because they want to be amazing in everything. And it was kind of like, yes, I can actually breathe and enjoy, in a sense, my mediocrity, but in a sense of just being able to be good at what I'm good at, and not worry about being too good at other stuff. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and my friends used to always joke that I would not stop talking about China because it was all I used to talk about, because it was such a profound experience and such a wonderful experience I had that I love talking about it.
Yeah. I was going to ask about you're an English actor taking English theatre ideas to China. Did you get to see much of their theatre? How did that their culture reflect in their theatre? That kind of, it must be right, it must be perfect, we cannot kind of fail. Was that reflected in the theatre?
So I did get to go and watch some Jingju, which is their Chinese opera, and it was very much. You could see that regimented side of things. That very much you danced in a certain way, you sung the notes in a certain way. It was all very stylized and very much held in this kind of elegance that this is the way we do things, and it's built in this tradition. And it was phenomenal because they had lots of, for people who've seen Jinju, lots of acrobatics, there's lots of sword fighting, and lots of beautiful moments, and especially singing in kind of the standard tones that we sing in Western culture, here in these Chinese tones. It was really fascinating to watch, but it's almost, you can't compare a Chinese opera to something like, I don't know, Mamma Mia. It's completely outside.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic stuff.
And we should sort of push along from there. And obviously we've talked about how this incredible experience of different cultures of theatre, and you taking the English course, and you're grinning because you know where I'm going. Because you catapulted back to the UK, back to boring old Blighty, but with a bit more freedom in the theatre, and you think, right, so I've done a bit of crazy Asian influence culture theatre. What could I possibly want to do next? So should we have a look perhaps at sort of Indian and other sides of Asia and do some culture of that side as well? Because as we alluded to earlier, we were involved in a couple of shows together, which I have mentioned on the podcast before. Jungly Jadugar, which, for want of a better phrase, became, and we sort of almost coined it as, Pakistani pantomime. And that is meant in the nicest possible way. There's no insult to that. It was an incredible opportunity that we, among some other performers, had to work with some amazing creatives of Pakistani background who were creating essentially a blend of English and traditional sort of British and very much westernized theatre combined with the other side of the world theatre. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to pass over to you because I've mentioned it before on the pod, but I'd love to hear how you kind of describe it or reflect on it now, or that experience. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it was one of, like, it is, like I said, it's really the thing that sticks out in my career, because it's like, that's a really interesting and strange thing you've done, and that's next to China as well. Yeah. So it was like, I remember talking to it was Wagging Tongues Productions.
It was, yes.
That was the theatre company, and the woman who ran it, she was a mother of two, and she had brought up her kids over in England from a Pakistani background, but she wanted to make sure that there was theatre that was inclusive to her kids' generations who brought up in England, but also had, the folk stories and the stories from back at home. Mm. So she basically comprised one of her folk stories from her culture into an English bit of pantomime, and she wanted to reflect, what does London actors and performers look like, and it's from all different backgrounds. So she had lots of different people from lots of different cultures. So she had someone from France, had someone from Australia, had someone from England, and then also Asian performers as well. So it was a very, like, split down the middle mixed cast of half people, half Asian actors and half English actors. But it also showed what does English theatre really look like, because it was, you don't get just all Asian companies, you don't get all English theatre. It's like London is everyone, really.
Yeah.
And we were kind of cast as kind of in the story of Journal Jagger was a character called Billu and Gulu, who were essentially the silly Billy character mixed with Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Yeah, I think that's a fair representation.
And I don't know if, she had cast it very well, because when we kind of both, because we did our auditions separately.
Yeah.
And I remember just kind of meeting Sam in like the first couple of read-throughs in the audition rooms. And when you just get on with someone, you just go, this is someone I'm going to have a bit of a laugh with in the pub. And we just bounced off each other really well. And I think it was just, great bit of casting that she did, that we just worked so well together.
I think we, to sort of steal from what you were saying earlier, I think we were given a lot of freedom that perhaps in what you were teaching they didn't sort of see or hadn't experienced. There was a lot of trust put in us to sort of develop things, which was great, and we were given, as I say, that freedom to sort of work together within the production, but equally not separately, but on our own sort of bits, very much like a pantomime, in the sense that often you'll have a comic come in, or you'll have someone come in and do their own thing within a framework. We were given that opportunity. And I think what we ended up doing was doing a production that was rewarding because it's what we love doing, but equally it certainly opened my eyes to Asian culture and the different styles of theatre and how they embrace stories and how they're told, how music is used differently within different countries and areas within performance. And equally, we got to perform at some amazing places. So we were at Kensington Olympia, we were at the South Bank Centre. So we did these amazing venues in London. But also, as you mentioned, we got to work with people from different backgrounds. We got to work with so many different skill sets as well. I mean, we had mimes working with us.
I forgot them. The robot dance.
We had really highly skilled dancers who specialised in sort of robotic movement. Just some, and what
the budget on that show was quite incredible. Like, they were just like, oh yes, we need a full dragon costume. Okay, we'll just build this giant dragon puppets.
Indeed, and actually, I'd almost forgotten, but we should mention the wonderful Mr. Nicholas Benjamin, who was on, people may remember, was on the podcast, a good few seasons ago now. Yeah. He was the incredible Pink Dragon. He Fifi the Pink Dragon, wasn't he? He was phenomenal. But again, another connection made, and someone with, again, a different background. And we got to learn a lot, I think, as we got to, as you put it earlier, as we got to play with what we were doing. But equally, the children that were involved, I think they learnt an awful lot as well.
Yeah, because the kids, her two sons were in the cast, which I think they did, not to our own fault, but didn't look up to us as, as like the older brothers in the cast, because we would just, mess about with them, play games with them, and play like just take the mickey out of each other like we would to each other. So it was kind of, they got to learn what it was like to have a bit of laugh and banter on a rehearsal space, but then also how to work professionally in a company. And what was good, what you were mentioning about how we were given a bit of creative freedom, because I think we knew, because we both had done panto before, and we knew, that panto, there's certain jokes that are meant to be for the adults. And I remember us always kind of going, we could add this line in here, and it's a bit of a double entendre, and it's just cheeky enough that it might go over the kids' heads. And I remember we got a lot away with a lot of things, but there was a few jokes where they went, yeah, we're not saying that, we're doing it literally. I was like, okay, fair enough. But no, it was great experience.
It was amazing.
I mean, Matt, you've travelled, you've mix so many cultures together. And you mentioned the acting coaching. Is that something that you're continuing even now?
Yeah, so I have always had my toe in teaching and coaching, and I've always worked really well with kids, and it's something that I've always had a skill with. I'm still coaching now, helping people with drama school preparation, because I always recall it was like for myself, I had a great teacher, a guy called Simon Drake. I used to go to a Saturday dance school as a kid, and he used to just give me extra one-to-one drama classes free of charge, just to help me with my monologues and audition prep. And he basically got me into drama school with his help. And it kind of feels like I'm passing on that torch now to the work that I do in drama school preparation, in screen acting classes and stage work that I do. And it's something I'm really proud of, and being able to see the people that I have taught, either singing or acting, and kind of gone, I can see where you've now progressed to, and like people who have gone to drama school or gone off to like working in fields where they're using that theatre and going, yeah, I've contributed to that. I feel really proud. Which I found out the other like a couple of days ago, a couple of months ago actually. One of the kids who I was in China, who I was working with, they carried on acting, and then they were the Chinese character voice for Coco in the Disney film Coco.
What?
Wow.
Amazing.
Which I was like, I don't know if he was like, a professional actor before he was in my classes or something like that, but I was like, someone had mentioned it to me, a friend who was still over there. I was just like, that's the same kid. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not stealing the thunder here, but I mean, fair play to him.
That was all my work.
Brilliant.
All my work.
Yeah,
I did
all
that.
me.
Yeah.
I take all the credits.
Oh.
Disney, where's my check?
Yeah, exactly. Royalties, please, royalties. No, but Matt, honestly, mate, it's so thrilling to be able to catch up and to hear all the stories. And what is it they say? Those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, if there was ever someone to prove that completely the opposite, he is sat here in front of us right now, and we could go on chatting for hours. But obviously, sadly, we are constrained to times for the podcast, and we know you're a very busy man as well. But we always ask our guests to leave us with an anecdote or a story. Have you got something from your crazy travels and from all your work and stuff, something that sticks out in your mind that we can just leave our listeners and viewers with?
Okay, so in China, when we were doing our first big rehearsal with all the different kids, we all met up and we decided that we were going to do, as a way to introduce and get all the kids to get to know each other, we'd all get them to learn an English musical theatre song, so that they could all kind of show off what they had been working on over the past couple of weeks. So we all chose different songs, and my two friends who were over in She Just Won, they were from Glasgow, and they decided to teach their kids Anything We Can Do from Joseph. Yeah. And so all the kids, there were probably about 100 of them, from about 8 to about 14. And they all they started coming on stage, and it was like, right, so all the music started playing. And then it was only everyone was all being very respectful watching the kids. Yet all of us English kind of teachers started really laughing our heads off, and trying not to, because little did we know that these kids didn't have a lot of English classes before, so the first time that they were learning English words were from the drama teachers. The problem is that they were learning in a Scottish accent. So they started singing, going, I close my eyes, to back the curtain. Full-on Braveheart. It was amazing. I mean, excuse my Scottish accent, but it was literally any to leave with it was amazing. Wow. And I was just like, no, can we have this in the show? This is great.
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, and as you say, it must have been so difficult not to, because you didn't want to laugh at them because they were doing amazing things, but equally, if you've not heard something before, you can only replicate what you hear, and I guess a lot of Eastern Europe, they often have an American twang when they speak because they pick it up from TV. So yeah,
Exactly.
but a lot of
They always say what people learn their English from Friends. They learned it from Braveheart.
yeah, wow. I mean, if there was ever a moment that's been mentioned on the podcast that I wish I'd been there to witness, I think this is right up there. But
Yeah, right there, sir.
what a story. Matt, it has been an absolute dream catching up, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you. And yeah, all the best with the continued coaching. People, if you get the opportunity to work with Matt, then please do seize it, because I can say firsthand that I shared a stage with a man and he's bloody brilliant. So he knows what he's talking about. But we shall let you get back on again, mate. Thank you so very much for joining us
Matt.
on the podcast.
My pleasure. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care, mate. See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Well, leaving for goodness knows where, the wonderful Matt Traylor. I mean, that story of China was, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But to be dumped in the middle of nowhere with very few people surrounding you that actually speak your native language, extraordinary and very brave.
I was going to say, like, I don't think I could do that now as a man in my 30s, let alone as a fresh-faced person out of drama school, not knowing anyone, barely 1 or 2 credits into a career. Yeah, like what an experience, and absolutely hats off to him to be able to do it, and to the others obviously that were doing the same thing with him. But and definitely something you can see he's so glad he did, and shaped his career. I mean, he's now taken the coaching and teaching path perhaps beyond, more so than his performance himself. So yeah,
it's a big risk, to be working in our industry, and every day something brings something new. But that is certainly someone who took a risk. It was brand new, and as you say, has taken him down some really interesting avenues. Least of all, or I should say, best of all, working with you, Sam, in that wonderful show you did together. Yeah, bizarre though it was.
Completely bizarre, completely unmatched in its uniqueness. But what an experience that was as well. And as I said, I've sort of talked about it in bits before on the podcast, but to be able to talk about it with my brother, the Gulu to my Bilu, we had a fantastic time. Not just because obviously we got on so well and we had such a great time performing together, but being able to pass on our knowledge and experience to the younger people in the cast, being given the freedom to be creative. And I put a lot to Matt, like that some of the things he was able to teach me, or to the knowledge he was able to impart, being obviously he'd gone through full drama school training, something that I hadn't done, and I'd come from a very different background, and my perhaps skill set was in a slightly different area, but we gelled really well as a performing pair, but also as a creative pair within a much bigger and much more diverse creative team. So yeah, just a really brilliant guy, which I'm sure everyone has been able to tell from that short period of having a chat with him then. So yeah,
fantastic.
Thanks again, Matt, for coming on. As I kept saying,
absolutely.
It's so brilliant to see you and catch up, but equally, thank you so much for coming on the pod and telling the stories of China and everything else. So yeah, another stunning guest, mate. Another one.
We're very lucky. We're very lucky. And I mean, it is back to normal next week. Not.
Well, yeah,
because
it would normally, but it's not, because as we talked about previously, and as obviously we showed last week, lots of our previous guests, more stunning people, were kind enough to send us their questions, and we had so many amazing responses that we had to not cut short last week, but just stop last week, and we're going to pick it up again next week, which I can't wait for. It was such a great opportunity to answer questions, and obviously I love podcasting and I love being one half of the interview panel, should we say. But flipping it round, it was super interesting, and I'm very excited to do it again.
Well, it's you, me, and a cast of maybe not thousands, but dozens, shall we say?
Yes,
of good friends joining us.
Indeed,
great love stuff.
Yes,
exactly.
So Please do come back next week. We hope you've enjoyed
Please.
this week. Why wouldn't you have done with the wonderful Matt on the show? Next week, Matt won't be here. Drew and I will be, but there'll be a few more familiar faces that those of you that have been with us a while will certainly remember. And those of you just joining us, well, if it doesn't inspire you to go back and hear what we asked them, then, well, you must be mad. But
Absolutely.
until then, Drew, here's to you, here's to Matt, and here's to us being interrogated again next week.
Look forward to it, mate. Take care.
Cheers. See you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.